Hello everyone, my name is Ruth Aresi and welcome to today's webinar. Today we wanted to focus the discussion on the new NYSED graduation modifications regarding the Regents credit exemption. We're going to discuss those requirements for exemption and talk about how RightPath can help with credit recovery and credit completion for the students to be eligible for that exemption. Now before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping details for the webinar. Everybody has been muted upon entry and will remain muted for the entire presentation. We also ask that at any time, if you have a question, you can chat that into the chat box and we'll reserve time at the end of the presentation for questions. Right Reason Technologies has been in the distance education field for almost 20 years. We are a team of educators who are devoted to teacher and student success. During this unprecedented time, we wanted to be able to share our knowledge and our product to be able to help any and all teachers get adjusted to this new way of teaching. There are some states who have announced closures for the remainder of the school year and some who are still extending the dates about every 2 weeks. The one thing we know is that most states, and New York State specifically, have canceled their state assessments for this year. And today we're going to focus our webinar on the discussion around the New York State Regents exams cancellation and the requirements around the test exemption. But also know that this credit recovery that we're going to speak about can be used for any course or student who needs to recover credits, not just with regards to the Regents'. RightPath is made up of 4 major components, with each of our components focusing on teacher and student success. Our data-informed instruction component includes multiple ways to assess students and powerful instructional reports that can be used to drive instruction in the classroom. The instructional planning component allows you to create district curriculum plans and share those with your teachers to use as their daily lesson plans. The learning resources and programs is our pre-built curriculum and lessons that are utilized in educational programs like credit recovery, Regents prep, and alternative education. These lessons are also used in conjunction with the instructional reports as we drive that instruction from those reports to the online lessons. The last component is the professional performance piece that contains the district's principal and teacher observation rubrics and scoring for APPR reporting. Today we're going to focus on our data module and our learning resources module. Now let's jump into looking at the eligibility requirements for exemption. These apply to any student that was expected to take any Regents exam in June of 2020. So any student currently enrolled in the 1920 school year that was going to take a Regents exam would be exempt from that Regents exam if they have earned their credit in that course of study. And this will apply for as many Regents exams as the student was enrolled in. Any student in grade 7 that was enrolled to take a Regents course would also be exempt from a Regents exam if they have met the standards assessed in their provided coursework. Students enrolled in a Regents course for the 1920 school year but failed to earn their credit by June of 2020 have the opportunity to return to summer school to earn that course credit. If they can earn that course credit through a summer school credit recovery option, then the students would be granted their diploma Regents credit in August of 2020 prior to that August Regents being exempt from taking that Regents. Any student previously enrolled in a Regents course that has earned their course credit, so previously enrolled in a previous school year, but has not passed the Regents exam. If that student was intending to take the Regents in June of 2020 to achieve a passing score, then they would also be exempt from taking that exam and would earn their diploma credit for that exam. Many of our partner districts have utilized RightPath in the past for credit recovery programs during the school year and during summer school. So what we wanted to do today was share with you some ways that RightPath can help with summer school and credit recovery, especially while trying to get students credit to qualify for the Regents exemption. Here is what a credit recovery program would look like from implementation to credit completion using the RightPath Student Success System. District identification and implementation. Our team will work with each district to set up their credit recovery program according to their guidelines. Districts will identify the students who need to recover the credit, and these students would be enrolled in a class either in the district student management system or in RightPath, we can create a class for each credit recovery course. In that case, the district would then send the names and courses needed for credit recovery for each student. Once the students are identified, our team of educators will work with the district to assign online diagnostics to all students. RightPath has a diagnostic for each Regents course, but if the district has their own exam, that can be used as well. If the district would prefer, the current teacher could also fill in a learning gap analysis for each student to show the topics they need to recover. Drive the instruction and remediation from these assessment results. RightPath provides the teachers with instructional reports and individualized paths for each student. This allows the students to focus on the content they need to know and less time on the content they have already mastered. Each student's individual learning plan can be assigned to them for completion. Now let's take a few minutes to look at some of the reports that come from the RightPath Student Success System. The main report that you would utilize in the credit recovery program from the RightPath instructional reports is the individual learning plan. The individual learning plan is going to outline the learning gaps for each student based on that diagnostic assessment that they took. If they received a question wrong on a particular standard, it will show up on their individual learning plan. These individual learning plans can be assigned to the students for their own personalized path to mastery. The report that you see here is our ID chart, or the performance by standard chart. And what this is going to do is highlight the top misstandards on the diagnostic assessment based off of the number of incorrect responses. This report can be run at the building, class, or even the student individual level. So what it does is it helps to prioritize their individual learning plans at the student level. And let me just describe a little bit of what you're seeing here. So your top misstandards are going to be on the left, and it's going to decrease as you go through. What we're looking at is a school level or a building level report. So there was a lot of students that took this particular assessment. So each of the number of incorrect responses is found above the bar chart in this list. And then you'll see that there's an arc with percents. That percent represents the percent of the incorrect responses on that assessment. So ideally, if you were able to fully remediate that red bar, create equations and inequalities, that standard accounts for 12% of the incorrect responses on the assessment. And that arc is cumulative. So if you were able to remediate the red and yellow section, that accounts for almost 21% of the incorrect responses. So all 6 standards that you're seeing listed here account for almost 44% of the incorrect responses on the assessment. The other thing about our reports is any of our reports in our system are going to be clickable to find lessons to meet those standards. What you're seeing here is one of our RightPath instructional reports called the small group plan. So it looks very similar to your individual plan, except it's going to chunk the students into small groups for tier 2 or 3 instructions. And this is done automatically from the assessment results based on who responded incorrectly to a particular standard. And again, all of the reports are clickable. So in this report, you would actually click the standard code and you would be brought directly to lessons that meet that particular standard. We are also launching a brand new data center insights next school year. So I just wanted to include a few of those reports. So what you're seeing here is the Proficiency by Cohort. So this is if you're going to be comparing tests from the same groupings. So we have a pre-test and a mid-test that you have here. And you can see that in the pre-test, there was 13 level 1s. And then for those 13 level 1s, you can see their movement in the mid-year test to levels 2, 3, and 4. And then also down below on this chart, you would also see the students' names and their individual scores for each of the exams in that grouping. And here you can see what the new small group plan is going to look like in the Data Center Insights platform. So for each of the standards that are missed, you can see that it'll give you the percent of the students that did not meet that standard and then the percent of the students in green that did. So you can kind of see that ratio of who met the standard and who didn't meet the standard. And then under the details of that particular standard, you can see the students that did not meet that standard. And then if that standard was asked more than once, you'd be seeing what the percent correct was for that. So you could also see this one was asked twice, and there were some students who got one of the questions correct, but not the other. Teachers have the ability to progress monitor the students using a variety of built-in tools in RightPath. They can print out student reports, check the gradebook, and lessons can be reassigned to students to redo if they do not show mastery. Each lesson in RightPath has a graded section to assess their understanding of the topic. Now let's take a look at one of these lessons in more detail. So here's an example of a high school lesson. You can see that our lessons are based off of a UBD design, and every lesson includes the same lesson template. The students will be asked prior knowledge questions. There's a vocabulary section, as well as a learning component. And that's what's going to have all of the content that the students need for an online blended program. They have the content in front of them, but they can also ask the teacher that is present for assistance with anything that's needed. Each lesson also consists of a guided practice section, an independent practice section, and then extended response where applicable. Here's the RightPath course list of all the courses that would be available for credit recovery, including the Regents courses and also elective courses that the students may need to recover credit in. Each of these curriculum are built with pre-built lessons ready to go to assign to the students for credit recovery, whether it be based off of a diagnostic, an abridged curriculum, or based off of topics that are received from the teachers with the students' learning gap analysis. The last piece to the credit recovery system is to ensure mastery. Many checkpoints on topics can be assigned after completion of the lesson to see how the students are progressing with the course. Some districts also choose to use the lesson grades instead, since each lesson has a graded component to show if the student understood the topic. These mini checkpoints can be built right within RightPath, or if the district has their own assessment they would like to administer, they could do that as well. For many years, we have helped partner districts increase graduation rates and provide the learning resources for credit recovery programs. These programs have been held during the school day, replacing study halls, after school in a lab, and during summer school and also in distance learning environments. In some cases, we have created a blended environment by creating a high-tech one-room schoolhouse. In this option, there is usually a district instructor that is able to instruct multiple courses and grades simultaneously. It usually takes place during summer school, after school in a lab, or replacing summer schools or replacing study halls during the school day. This allows students to remain on track to graduate with their peers. But it is still not known if students will be allowed back in the buildings for summer school this year. How can we get them credit online? RightPath can be used as a distance learning option. Students can still be assigned lessons based on weaknesses from these assessments, either teacher-driven or assessment-driven. Students with devices can be assigned lessons to show mastery on specific topics. This can begin now or after the school year is completed. Students and teachers have built-in communication with integrated email in the RightPath system. So why does a blended or online learning environment work with today's students? Today's students are 21st century learners. They prefer to receive information quickly from multiple sources, multitasking, and they learn through pictures, sounds, and videos before text. Googling is now a verb when they need to look up information, and they want learning that is instant, relevant, and fun. Our students are digital natives. Do you have students who could recover credit before summer school even begins? Well, learning recovery could be an option for them. Learning recovery is a proactive approach to re-engage students before they fail a course. It gives them the second chance they might need for credit completion. This is usually done while the student is currently enrolled in the course, lessening the need for summer school. Here you can see a learning recovery program in action. A student might fail a quarter or multiple quarters. Those students are identified for learning recovery, and the student's teacher submits a learning gap analysis selecting the units and topics the student needs to recover based on their grades from that quarter. The students then work at their own pace on their personalized path to success and recover those quarter credits for learning recovery. We want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. If you'd like some additional information, feel free to visit our website at www.rightreasontech.com, and you can contact us through the website, or you can give us a phone call at 1-877-778-8277. We're going to have some questions if you want to chat those into the chat box, and then we'll be monitoring those questions and we can answer those for you.